From restaurants whose stubborn owners ignored Gordon's advice after filming, to the ones whose existing success and reputation were destroyed after the show's transformation, here are the restaurants that Chef Ramsay either couldn't save or may have changed for the worse. Starting with Hannah and Mason's, a tiny French bistro in Cranberry, New Jersey, whose owners lack the first thing you need to manage a restaurant: a passion for food. Chris and Brian, who were former employees of Hannah and Mason's, took over the business after their bosses decided to sell the building. But what felt like a dream at first quickly turned into one of the worst nightmares in the show.
Hey, Panini Head, are you listening to me?
Yes.
You're gonna kill someone. I'm eating here. Partners.
Chris became an overworked owner who juggled paying bills, cooking on the line, and pretty much running every single part of the restaurant alone. Brian, on the other hand, barely functioned as a worker, let alone an owner. It became clear why the restaurant's problems kept getting worse, especially when their food was the picture-perfect definition of unappealing.
Wow. Let's start off with 0 out of 10 for presentation. That's absolutely tasteless. It tastes like I've just had the dregs from the dishwasher. Hardly any soup.
And even worse, this was the state of the restaurant's walk-in freezer.
Miles, that's from lunch. Yeah. I cannot believe what you guys are doing here.
Shit, that didn't get put away.
Oh my God. I don't know what the
Understandably, Gordon had to shut down the restaurant, even when couples were in the middle of their Valentine's dinner.
To shut it down.
Switch it off! Yeah, fucking shut it down! Switch it off!
After lots of harsh truths from Gordon, one-on-one cooking classes for Brian, a new menu, and of course a makeover, Hannah and Mason's relaunch night was successful. But while all the massive changes to the restaurant seemed positive from an objective point of view, it seems like everything the show changed only hurt the business. During the episode, Chris had his doubts about rebranding the entire store.
I think I'm in shock. The restaurant is gone. I knew there was going to be changes, but this is a complete departure from what we've done.
And as it turned out, his fears that the changes wouldn't work for the restaurant were realized. In February 2010, just a little over a year after its episode on Kitchen Nightmares aired, Hannah and Mason's shut its doors for good. At the time, Chris Posner spoke to Nation's Restaurant News about why things fell apart. And according to Chris, the restaurant was doing pretty well before the show. In fact, it was initially rejected from Kitchen Nightmares for being too successful. But because he thought it was cool that this celebrity chef would come and work side by side with them, he pushed to join the show anyway. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way he expected. Many of the new dishes caused disappointment among vocal regulars, with some even telling Chris that if he didn't go back to the original menu, they wouldn't return. The restaurant eventually reverted to its original dishes, but when the show aired, their reputation only got worse, as some of those customers who saw the show stopped ordering business meals from Hannah and Mason's. By the last quarter of 2008, revenue had hit an all-time low, and by January 2009, some meal periods had 0 covers, leading to the restaurant's closure. Just like Hannah and Mason's, Sam's Mediterranean Kebab Room also received an extensive transformation from the show, which Sam, the owner, later revealed didn't really help much. Sam founded Sam's Mediterranean Kebab Room for his family's future, but ironically, after he hired his kids as his primary staff members without actually paying them, the restaurant had the complete opposite effect.
I put all the numbers on my checks, and that's how
You know how
Jamal
many times you
ran
guys have taken the food without the salad? How was the chicken cold if we take it right off the grill?
It wasn't cold.
She came and told me the chicken was cold.
I didn't say the chicken was cold. What are they fighting about?
Gordon essentially became a part-time family therapist.
Just conducted service over the last 2 hours. Disorganized, chaotic, and so fragmented. I mean, people suffering.
But of course, most of the work needed to be done was on the restaurant itself. After all, on top of having barely edible food, this restaurant's walk-in fridge was filled with wasted ingredients. And worse, raw chicken was being served like it was completely normal.
He gave me a full plate, he didn't eat it.
What's wrong with it?
It was still raw.
Leave him on.
Look at that. Just touch that. I wouldn't serve that. Sam, you're in charge, and you're serving raw chicken. I'm amazed.
Despite the chaos of both the family and the operation side of things, Gordon worked his magic for Sam's Kebab Room. On one hand, he trained the kids who still wanted to help in the restaurant, and on the other, Chef Ramsay helped Sam understand that he should allow the kids who want to pursue their own goals to resign from their duties at the restaurant. Of course, the Kebab Room itself had a massive overhaul, which made Gordon say,
Unbelievable.
Let me tell you something really important. This has been one of the biggest and most expensive transformations we've ever made. Ever!
Wow.
Unfortunately, even the show's most expensive makeover couldn't save this restaurant from its impending doom. In the summer of 2013, just a few months after the episode aired, Sam gave an interview with a local news website, announcing that his kebab room would soon close its doors. In that interview, Sam clarified that kitchen nightmares didn't work, claiming they didn't do any better even after the episode aired. And according to Yelp reviews, the restaurant was indeed flooded with low-star ratings at the time, with one saying, "I gave them a second try, but I will not be giving them a third. How does this place stay open?" And another admitting, "If I could give this place no stars, I would. But I have to give them at least one. Let me just tell you, don't ever go to this place. They have some of the worst customer service ever." In the same interview, Sam placed some of the blame for his restaurant's failure on the location, saying there were too many restaurants in the area, and another Mediterranean spot that was coming to Myrtle Avenue would only offer more competition. He mentioned plans to open another restaurant somewhere else, but that never really happened. Or maybe his life post-kitchen nightmares simply stayed too private. His kids, however, seem to have found their own versions of success in life. To name some examples, Lena went on to work at Amazon, while Jamal joined the military. Sam's Mediterranean kebab room was later occupied by Copper Still Grill, which has earned plenty of 5-star reviews. Unfortunately, Sam's restaurant wasn't the only one suffering from an unmotivated staff and chef. Hot Potato Cafe dealt with the same problem. This restaurant, which was launched for fun by three sisters with zero experience, thought that appointing their 21-year-old niece as the head chef was all it took to run the place.
Where did you study?
I actually have no formal experience.
So you're not even a trained chef?
No, not at all.
So, unsurprisingly, less than a year after opening, Hot Potato Cafe was already being mocked in Philadelphia Weekly.
We were open for about 8 months and we had a really, really bad review. A local paper had come in and they wrote an article and they called us Spuddy Hell.
And since then, the place had become a ghost town most of the day. Though, honestly, that review was probably gentler than what Gordon had in mind during his visit. After all, he was so appalled by the disgusting food, passionless dinner service, and a kitchen that had zero structure, that Chef Ramsay actually walked out and gave up, a moment that almost never happens on the show.
No chance. I'm out of here.
Guys, get out of here, will you?
Pick up the off.
I didn't want to fail, but I feel like we're way beyond that at this point. I don't want to close the restaurant.
However, the owners, already desperately in tears and in $250,000 debt, chased after Ramsay and begged him to give them another chance, to which he eventually agreed.
Can we just go talk to him, please?
Honestly, from my point of view, no one cares. If you three don't care, why should I care?
It's not that we don't care. I just think we need help. We care about this business. We just feel like we're so freaking buried and so lost. Please help us.
Trying to reignite passion in the restaurant, Chef Ramsay launched the potato-themed challenge for the staff to create new menu items and gave the restaurant a 3-month supply of free potatoes. With that, Hot Potato Cafe was reborn. Relaunch night was surprisingly successful, and even the very critic who once labeled the restaurant a spuddy hell was impressed. When the episode aired, Hot Potato Cafe made sure to leverage the publicity, proudly hanging a poster that said they were seen on the Fox network with Gordon Ramsay. Unfortunately, however, ever since Danielle left her position as head cook, 5 months before the episode aired, the restaurant's momentum started crashing again. One review mentioned, "For a restaurant that centers its menu around the potato, it isn't doing a very good job. I understand that Gordon Ramsay was there not long ago to do a makeover. If this is a makeover, I'm certainly glad I didn't try it before." And this disappointed sentiment was supported by a later review as well, saying, "I never had shepherd's pie, but I feel like there's a possible correlation between their shepherd's pie and cat food. I don't think the salmon was fresh and neither of us finished our food, nor could he have paid me to do so." In June 2010, when Hot Potato Cafe's lease was coming to an end, the owners decided not to renew it and put the restaurant up for sale. They listed the 50-seat BYOB spot on Craigslist, noting that the landlord was open to negotiating a new lease or even selling the building to whoever took over. The space was eventually taken over by a whiskey bar called Lloyd, which is still open today. Speaking of chaotic kitchen nightmares restaurants owned by trios, that brings us to Jack's Waterfront, a lakeside spot in Michigan that began its downward spiral after being taken over by 3 bodybuilders, Bill, Scott, and Tamer. Saying the operations at Jack's were a disaster would be an understatement. Pure chaos filled the kitchen at any given time, and Scott, one of the owners, was physically imposing enough that nobody wanted to challenge him.
Good, I'm gonna take him out and beat up. Scott is dangerous. He can hurt you if he wants to hurt you. People are terrified of him.
Not to mention, Tamer's father was always there to make everything much more chaotic, as a part-time flirter and full-time drunk, getting paid $100,000 a year. Unsurprisingly, the food itself was equally catastrophic, with Gordon dropping one of his most iconic lines while tasting the restaurant's food.
When you take a bite of that cod, it's almost like you've got a breaded condom in your mouth. Oof.
After Gordon helped Jack source fresh seafood from local fishermen and gave the restaurant a subtle but badly needed transformation, Jack's actually started to look promising. However, relaunch night wasn't exactly smooth sailing.
AJ.
Table 41.
41? AJ, I sold 41 like 45 minutes ago.
Okay, never mind.
Fuck, man.
You have to communicate.
But with Gordon's help, customers left the establishment with a smile on their faces. Based on the episode's epilogue, which mentioned that the owners finally worked well together and the head chef finally acted like one, Jack seemed to have a bright future ahead of it. Unfortunately, though, this momentum didn't last. In December 2008, 1 month after the episode aired, the trio sold Jack's Waterfront back to its previous owners, proving that none of Gordon Ramsay's efforts worked. Or maybe the trio just decided to scrap most of Ramsay's advice. Months after the change of ownership, reviews hinted that the turnover positively affected the restaurant's performance, with one Yelper saying, "I'm so happy that the old owners are back at Jack's. It has improved significantly from when those idiots on TV had it a few years ago. Tom and Paul will always go out of their way to make sure that you leave happy. The view is beautiful and the food is great." The old owners reverted the restaurant to its original name, Brownies at the Waterfront, though currently another completely different establishment named Hook occupies the building. As we've seen, even for a short while, most of a restaurant's success relies on the head chef. But at Casaroma, the opposite was true, as its chef Eric was the one pulling the restaurant towards its downfall. This restaurant served food so slowly that Chef Ramsay had time to jog around the empty tables while waiting, only to get served raw pizza and sandwiches dusted with powdered sugar. By the end of his meal, which he barely ate, here's what Gordon had to say.
And that's why, clearly, there's nobody in the restaurant. Because the only people that can eat this kind of shit are the ones in the bar. Drunk.
Of course, the reason for such a disastrous performance was unsurprisingly the head chef himself, Eric, who seemed to embody every quality Gordon despised in a chef. This guy prioritized smoking during service, prepared the worst food, carried a massive ego, and let his kitchen descend into a borderline biohazard.
Christ almighty.
already replaced almost 20 chefs in 2 years, the owners were reluctant to fire Eric. But Gordon gave Nyla, the owner, a harsh reality check, making it clear that firing Eric was necessary if she wanted the restaurant to survive.
Why are you employing a chef that's that incompetent? Darling, he's not in the slightest bit interested in fucking making it work. Doesn't give a fuck about his cooking, doesn't give a fuck about you, and he's here for one thing and one thing only, money.
So Eric was eventually fired. The sous chef was promoted to head chef, and Casaroma was rebranded as a pizzeria.
Okay, so what do you want to do?
We're gonna part ways.
Okay, no problem.
Okay? Okay.
I need you. All right. Yes? Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Gordon held a pizza eating challenge to reintroduce Casaroma to the community. And the relaunch was a massive success, with customers smiling from ear to ear as they enjoyed the new menu. But although the restaurant seemed much better before Gordon left, the old problems hadn't fully disappeared. One Yelp reviewer explained how service delays still plagued the experience, saying, "I thought with Chef Ramsay's visit things would get better, but I was wrong. It took about 1 hour to get our mediocre food, and the waitress never bothered to check in with us to see how everything was." This restaurant fought for several years to stay in business, but it also sprinkled a confusing branding journey along the way. Shortly after the episode aired, it was transformed into AV Roadhouse, which no longer followed Gordon's menu items or changes. Afterward, it went through even more surprising transformations, eventually becoming a Mexican restaurant called CR Roadhouse, which has also since closed down. While Casaroma wrestled with an identity crisis towards the end, Mangia Mangia struggled from the very beginning, failing to visually match the high-end restaurant that the owners had envisioned it to be.
This looks like a fast food restaurant. This has to be a first.
Well, Gordon wasn't wrong. The building, in fact, used to be a fast food spot. But Julie, a former realtor who has zero culinary experience, decided to buy it and turn it into Mangia Mangia, an Italian restaurant. Her reasoning was pretty simple.
My mom decided to open up an Italian restaurant because there aren't any other Italian restaurants. There's 3 Mexican and 2 Chinese.
But obviously, restaurants that start with a dream and zero planned execution can very easily end up on kitchen nightmares. Julie ended up hiring her daughter Janelle's ex, Trevor, as the head chef, even when this was literally how he rated his food.
How'd you rate the food out of 10?
5.
Oh.
It's your own food, Trevor.
And this was how his best attempt at pasta dough looked.
Yeah, that is too much oil in there.
No wonder Mangia Mangia had the largest stockpile of pre-cooked pasta in Kitchen Nightmares history.
Do you have any idea what's going on behind here?
This will be used today.
Can you stop dreaming? Do you have any idea how many portions are in here?
No, I don't.
You got no idea.
But Gordon still pushed forward, replacing Trevor with a competent new chef and hosting a pasta eating contest to bring the community in ahead of the upcoming relaunch. Mangia Mangia's relaunch night was a huge success, but unfortunately, this didn't translate into long-term improvement. Though the restaurant did continue making everything from scratch after the show, as Julie herself mentioned in an interview, customer reviews were mixed just months after the show was filmed. Some pointed out that pre-Ramsay's was much better, and while that might seem unlikely, Julie's responses to these negative reviews made the situation clearer. By November 2013, just 3 months after filming the show, Julie replied to a negative review commenting, "Sorry you had a bad experience. We've changed the chicken parmesan back to the way we had it before. I think you're confusing the price. Again, I'm sorry. It just took a bit to get everything to where we found would work, blending the new menu with the old." But avid fans of the show know that this tactic often leads to confusion and inconsistency in the kitchen, which most likely contributed to Mangia Mangia's below-average 2.9-star rating. Now, the restaurant did receive a publicity boost when the episode aired in April 2014, with Julie being interviewed by Fox 21 News.
Great, and happy to have you here. Come down from Woodland Park. I know it's early for you.
It is very early.
Talk about this experience with having Chef Ramsay. How did it even come about?
But unfortunately for them, this spike in attention was short-lived. Just 5 months after the episode aired, Julie closed Mangia Mangia, and the building was eventually taken over by Jimmy John's, which still operates today. Julie returned to real estate, while her daughter Janelle now holds several roles, including working as a content and social media marketer. Speaking of parent and child tandems that should have stayed away from the restaurant business from the start, we obviously have to mention Levantes, which once again proved that restaurants are one of the fastest ways to destroy a family's peace. Located in Beaver, Pennsylvania, Dino bought Levantes with financial help from his father, Tony. But what should have been a post-college dream quickly turned into a kitchen nightmare's disaster. Dino and his sister Tina constantly argued. The kitchen looked abandoned, and rotten chicken was literally served to customers.
That's the chicken we've been serving all night, yeah? Why is it sat in all that? Look how slimy it is. Oh my gosh. Look at the color of the chicken. Green and stinking.
With that, Gordon didn't just shut down the kitchen. He gave the family a hard slap in the face by publicizing the restaurant's disgusting and unsafe practices to all the customers waiting for their food.
From chicken that's already slimed, off, gone, to a tomato sauce that's actually caked in mold. I am not shutting this restaurant down. I am stopping the owners serving this disgusting mess.
But it seemed like there was still hope for Levantes after its relaunch night, which started off bumpy.
I got this table 43, been waiting here over an hour for food.
43. Hey, Dino, 43. What's going on? They've been here for an hour.
But finished with smiling families.
That's it. This is all sold. We'll be back. We'll be here.
When Levantes' episode aired in February 1, 2013, the restaurant was more than happy to lean into the kitchen nightmare spotlight. One Yelp review mentioned, "We went here not knowing Gordon Ramsay had revamped it, and sadly, we weren't impressed. The staff was fantastic, though a little too eager to sell us on the kitchen nightmare's fame, perhaps more than letting the food speak for itself. We were asked by 3 different people during the course of our meal if that's how we found them. But unfortunately, the initial demand from a newly released TV episode can only carry a restaurant so far, especially if people don't have a reason to return." Months later, one reviewer said, "Levantes was horrible last year when I tried it. It was pretty good right after Chef Ramsay revamped them, but now they're right back to where they started. The service is horribly slow. The atmosphere is depressing. The food's okay at best. What happened after the chef left?" In November 2013, 9 months after the episode aired, Levantes was sold to the executive chef of PNC Park, who opened a new restaurant in the building named Heirloom, though that restaurant also closed shortly after and the space is now occupied by a candy shop. Levantes didn't exactly get a happy ending, but at least Dino wasn't aggressive towards Ramsay, unlike Joe, the owner of Mill Street Bistro, who argued that Gordon just didn't know what he was doing whenever he received feedback. Credit to where credit's due, Mill Street Bistro was actually a nice, cozy place.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
What a gorgeous place.
Yes, thank you.
Look at this.
Ready to sit?
It's stunning. Yeah, very. Thank you.
Follow me, please.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, though, that was pretty much all it had going for it. Almost every staff member hated Joe's arrogance and outright cruel behavior.
Is there enough bread for dinner right now, or do you want me to do that part of the thinking too?
Very unbearable to even be here.
The way you treat me is disrespectful, crude.
Then you need to find another place to work.
And the prices were incredibly steep.
Typo error.
That is the price.
New York strip, 26. Filet mignon, 29.
Yes.
They must be some of the most expensive prices locally, right?
Correct, yes.
Wow.
Gordon initially assumed the high cost was due to the farm-to-table approach, since Joe owned his own livestock ranch and bragged about it non-stop. But Chef Ramsay couldn't have been more wrong, as most of Mill Street Bistro's food was frozen and just plain inedible.
That's been frozen since 2009, 3 years ago, used by 2010. Frozen blue cheese. Why would you freeze blue cheese?
Gordon and Joe eventually had one of the most iconic face-offs in the show's history.
Let me tell you something. You're not a chef. Stop pretending to be one. Let me tell you something. You're not a fine dining bistro. You're a small man with a fake bistro.
We'll
Dude,
research that.
You are so fucking arrogant. You don't even listen to your customers, let alone your staff. Of 20 things that have gone wrong,
You're busting my balls.
because you're in fucking denial. You're ignoring my advice.
No, I'm not.
And you're going up against me.
No, I'm not
Yes, you
ignoring
are.
your advice. I feel like Christmas has come early.
One way or another, Gordon managed to revive the restaurant with a redesigned menu and the best decision ever, removing Joe from the kitchen. With a more peaceful environment, the relaunch night was successful. Sad to say though, this momentum was only temporary. According to multiple sources, the head chef, along with several waitstaff, quit their positions months after filming ended. So, even after Gordon explicitly emphasized how destructive Joe was in the kitchen, Joe ended up returning as the restaurant's head chef. The Mill Street Bistro episode was filmed in June 2012. Over a year later, it was rebranded into the Maple City Tavern in December 2013, probably in an attempt to start fresh and attract new customers. But the quote-unquote new restaurant quickly faced disastrous one-star reviews, with customers highlighting how nasty the owner was. His anger and lack of respect for his staff and customers clearly comes through in his food, and one being extremely disappointed that this seemingly new restaurant was still under Joe, the previous owner whose foul mouth and even fouler fresh but frozen food was on Kitchen Nightmares a few seasons ago, even when she understandably thought that it would be under new management. A month after rebranding, in January 2014, Joe sued the production team for damages to the restaurant and was paid £900 in compensation. According to Joe, after filming ended, a box of meat had gone missing, ceilings dismantled for overhead lighting weren't fixed, and his $150 pound Rondo cooking pot disappeared, along with a plastic tub containing several elk steaks or chops. Joe eventually reached a settlement with the Kitchen Nightmares team, but the restaurant itself didn't get a happy ending. In 2016, just 2 years after becoming the tavern, its doors permanently closed, and the building was later sold for $140,000. If you didn't find the restaurant you knew Gordon also couldn't save, we may have featured it in our earlier videos, so don't forget to check them out.